The next section we'll be looking at is what is professional development. Okay, and professional development is extremely important. And for us, I'm going to kind of look at it this from what are the teacher standards and what is, for example, UK professional development concepts. But I'm also kind of looking at Islamic concepts as well. So professional development is keep their knowledge and skills as teachers up to date and be self-critical. Okay, so that's extremely important, and hence why you've come onto this course, to enhance your skills as teachers, enhance your knowledge, and keep up to date. Most teachers that I deal with do not have time to look at, for example, legislation. They don't have time to look at pedagogy and so forth. So my job is to go and research all this for you, and hopefully I'll be sending you regular emails and so forth to keep you up your knowledge up to date and your skills up to date as well. And I'll be hopefully producing a lot of free videos for you to have a look at as well. Okay, take responsibility for improving teaching through appropriate professional development, responding to advice and feedback from colleagues. So one of the things I can do is become your critical friend. So if you want to record, let's say you're teaching, put a camera in the back of the classroom, send me the video, I can give you feedback on that. If you're working in a local or national context and you want me to come over, I can provide feedback. If you want to kind of have a discussion, which we will be doing as part of this course, then I can provide that feedback to you. But you can also seek advice from friends and colleagues as well, or people that you work with. Okay, demonstrate knowledge and understanding of how pupils learn and how this has an impact on teaching. So it's absolutely critical to understand the psychology of students. In other words, what I see in many madrasas, for example, and schools, is that teachers go in and they teach in a one-dimensional procedure or method. And what that does is does not allow the teacher to build that relationship. So, for example, relationship building is absolutely critical. That is absolutely critical for you to understand what are the needs of the students. For example, I ran many years ago, I ran an education center. In my education center, I knew all the students by their first names. Okay, I knew all their parents. I knew roughly in location where they lived. I looked at the demographic areas. I looked at how many siblings they had. I looked at their one-parent families or not. I looked at their motivations. I looked at what they like to eat. I looked at what games they played. I even looked at who their friends were. I looked at students who had self-esteem, motivational issues. I looked at students who were high ability, low ability. I looked at various aspects, because without me fully understanding that particular child or that particular pupil, it's difficult for me to support that child. Okay, I looked at students who were temperamental. I looked at students who were very angry. I looked at students who were misbehaving continuously. I looked at students who had probably special education needs. And all these issues, I had like a whole file for each student, and I used to write this down, because that kept me if a student was not learning for a particular reason, I needed to understand why. It was a good challenge and opportunity for me to learn to support that student. So again, that's extremely important. Have a secure knowledge of the relevant subject and curriculum areas. And again, even if you look at the relevant subject areas, so for example, if you're teaching hadith, or you're teaching Quran, or you're teaching English, math, science, history, geography, whatever subject you're teaching, the subject knowledge is only about 1/20th of how to become an excellent, outstanding teacher. Okay, and I'll be explaining that more as we go along. I've come across hundreds, if not over 1,000 teachers, where some of them had extremely high qualifications in terms of masters and PhD and so forth, yet they couldn't teach, because yes, they were experts in their field, but teaching is a completely different field. And what we're looking at here in this particular program is for you to develop the art of teaching and the art of learning as well. Okay, so that's extremely important as well. Reflect systematically on the effectiveness of lessons and approaches to teaching. So I'm going to be giving you, as part of this course, my lesson plans and what that lesson plan looks like. And it's been kind of reviewed by inspectors, officer inspectors, professionals, head teachers, directors of education, and it encompasses many of the aspects of what an effective lesson plan looks like. And then I'll be looking at curriculum, I'll be looking at syllabus, I'll be looking at schemes of work and so forth as well as part of the course. Okay, no one understands how to assess the relevant subject and curriculum areas. So it's not just about looking at your particular year that you're teaching, whether you're teaching year 5, year 6, year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11, year 12. It doesn't matter just the year you're teaching. You also need to look at the wider curriculum. So how does Islamic studies, for example, you're teaching Islamic studies, how that impacts, for example, how is that connected to hadith? How is that connected to Quran? How is it connected to tafsir? How is that connected to even literacy or English language or mathematics or science? Okay, so that is what you look at in terms of the holistic education. So, for example, if your students have lack of, they can't read English, for example, or Arabic, and they're trying to understand a particular text, then you need to go back to the basics to kind of improve their English, because without them having good competency in English language and you're teaching them in an English medium, then that will be difficult for them to understand. Or similarly, for example, in the UK, we have issues with students where teachers are teaching in Urdu language or teachers who just generally speak Urdu, for example, and the students are majority of English medium speaking students. So that communications is always a barrier already before you started. Okay, so that's something that we need to look at in terms of that effective teaching and learning. Okay, what I'd like each one of you to do, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this. This is key aspects of becoming an outstanding teacher. What we are going to do here is, you've got these numbers here, number 1 to number 11. Okay, you've got effective differentiation, engaging, inspiring, motivating students. So these are kind of key aspects of how to become an outstanding teacher. In order for you to become that outstanding, amazing teacher, you need to look at these 11 criteria. Okay, and in these criteria, where do you stand? So are you 0, which you don't understand any aspect of this, or are you 10, which is outstanding? Okay, so I want you, this is the first task you're going to do today, is I want you to self-evaluate. So what I'd like you to do is read through each one of these. Effective differentiation, HML means higher level, medium level, low ability. So where are your students, and are you catering for the needs of your students? Are you engaging, inspiring, motivating your students? Are you developing independent learners and encouraging autonomy? Are you, number 4, are you delivering skills and knowledge essential for achieving outcomes? Number 5, assessment. Are you assessing your students regularly as part of developing progress in learning? Number 6, are you providing feedback, and what kind of feedback are you providing? Number 7, challenging all learners and high expectations. Have you got those high expectations in your students, and are you supporting them in order for them to achieve those high expectations? Using technology and other support to make an impact on learning. Effective collaborative learning and peer review. Effective classroom management. How are you affecting, you're managing your classroom on a day-to-day basis? And then sharing the criteria for success. In other words, someone has learned something, or you're sharing that with the classroom, with the parents, with the wider community. Okay, so what I want you to do on the right-hand side, you've got this grid here. I want you to self-evaluate yourself and give yourself a number. So, for example, number 1, are you 4 out of 10, or 10 out of 10, or 9 out of 10? So whatever you are, I want you to write in there, so like, for example, number 4, number 5, whatever it is, and then go on to number 2, and then go on to number 3, and I want you to fill this, all the boxes in from 1 to 11. Okay? Once you have, filled in all the box, I'm going to add all the numbers up from 1 to 11. Okay? And then divide by 11, which I've written here, and give me, and just type in to your chat box the average of what is your average for today. So this is before you've started any of my programs. What I want you to do is self-evaluate, and I'm going to explain to you why this is really important once we've done this. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. If you've got any questions, by all means, just type it into the chat and I'll explain. If you don't understand any part of this, then please let me know, and I will try and explain this to you. Okay, someone's got a question. Please clarify HTML. Okay, when you differentiate, I'm not going to give too much away because that's going to be part of the course. When you differentiate in the lesson, you have high ability students, you have medium ability students, and you have low ability students. So, are you catering for the different levels of students in your class? No problem. Yeah. Okay. So once you've done the calculations, just type them in, please. Yeah, I want you to grade yourself, please, from 0 to 10, and write the numbers in on the, for example, the right hand side, then add them all up, and then divide by 11. Okay, Rihanna 6.5. Okay. If you want to understand something, then please let me know as well, inshallah. Remember, this is your self-evaluation before you are starting the course. So at the end of this session today, you will need to do, you will need to go through the this aspect again and compare your, self-evaluation. So those of you who have just joined us recently, don't worry, I'll send you the recording of this webinar. It'll be on YouTube on our channel anyway, so you can have a look at this. So it'll only be certain aspects of it, but I'll email you the full video. You'll have a copy of this full video introduction session as well. Okay, another minute or so. Okay, let's move on. So normally what happens is once we do this self-evaluation, and I'll be coming back to this. So remember this, I call it the circle of outstanding teaching. So remember the circle of outstanding teaching because I'm going to come back to it later on, and I'll be discussing what it means in terms of what numbers you get. And if you've got a particular number, that's not possible. If you've got this number, then that's not possible. If you've got between this and this, then that's correct, and so forth. So I'll be explaining this grid as we go along. The reason this is important is if you haven't self-evaluated correctly, therefore, how are you going to improve your teaching? Okay, so for example, if you've got too low a number and you're, let's say you've graded yourself 2 or 3, when in fact you're a 5 or 6, then that's a big issue. Okay, if you've graded yourself 9, 10, and reality is you're 5 and 6, then that's a major issue. Okay, so if you've not self-evaluated correctly, then that is an issue because you don't really know how good or bad you are as a teacher. And what I do, and what me and my team do, is we help you accurately determine exactly where you are on that spectrum. Okay, then we put in that support network for you to look at each and every single aspect and area where we can support you in. So I'll talk more about that as we go along, inshallah. Okay, Okay, what I'd like you to do here is look at what I've done here is called a triangulation module MTS, which is a madrasa, teacher, and students. I call it model MTS, is because these three aspects have to work together in order for the students to succeed. So the madrasa, the teachers, and the students are all one group. All the stakeholders are one group. They have to be succinct in order to move forward effectively together. Okay, so teachers need the knowledge, skill, application, and spiritual connection for it to work. Similarly, the madrasa, a whole madrasa system in line with the principles of Quran and Sunnah. If your madrasa is not in line with the Quran and Sunnah, then effectively that is something that we need to look at, and why is that happening? And it's not just differentiating between, probably you can say, Islamic theology or Islamic education and separating that with, you can say, secular education. I personally think they should go tangent together, and therefore that only enhances the skills and the knowledge of the teacher and also the students. Teachers, because education evolves so rapidly, teacher training is a must. You have to keep on learning. You have to keep on training yourself. Doesn't matter what level you're at, there's always room to learn more. Okay, so teacher training is the most crucial element with pedagogy and teaching methodology. And as part of this course, I'll be going through in depth with you. Students need to seek knowledge, learn the skills, and connect with Allah on a spiritual and holistic level. I've seen it in probably hundreds of madrasahs and schools, that the whole purpose, the vision and mission of the schools are proper paper-based. No, they're most likely paper-based. In other words, they have a vision and a mission, but that's not embedded within their teachers. It's not embedded with their leadership and management team. It's not embedded in their students. If you ask certain students certain questions about the vision and mission, then in many cases, majority of students don't even know the vision and mission of the school. So that shows that the embodiment is not it's not there. So this is the MTS model. So again, professional development is extremely important. Outputs. So we need to look at what is it that you are trying to achieve. Where do you want your students to be? Where do you want your madrasa to be after 3 months, after 6 months, after 9 months, after a year? Where do you want to be as a teacher? Okay. And again, it's all about improving pupils' outcomes. Different students learn at different levels. And what we try and help you do is cater for the needs of every single child and let them learn at their pace. If you've got low ability, they will be slower than your high ability. High ability need more support. They need further work. They need to learn quicker. So we will show you how to get them to become independent learners, independent thinking, so they kind of learn at their own pace and they improve. Because if you've got, for example, students learning Quran, for example, recitation of the Quran, okay, the low ability are going to probably take a week or so just to learn Surah Fatiha, whereas your high ability might take probably a day to learn Surah Fatiha, or maybe an hour to learn Surah Fatiha. So why should they be on the same level as the rest of the class? So you need to have a different program for them. So again, that is about improving pupils' outcomes. So again, I mentioned madrasa, the students and the teachers all work together. And the most crucial element here is the home life and the parents. So whatever they are learning in the madrasa, whatever the teachers are teaching them, is that being practiced at home? And how are you overseeing that what they've learned in the madrasa and what the teachers are teaching them? So these students that you have, are they practicing what they are learning in the madrasa at home? So if you're teaching about respect, is the respect there at home, or the different students, or is it just they just respect what's happening in the madrasa? So again, that needs to be looked at as well, and we have a methodology for you to look at in terms of bringing parents in and having workshops and so forth. In order to facilitate this, in order for your students to learn at a rapid level, and I'm talking about even 200% or 300%, we need to change mindsets. Not just mindsets of your students, the teacher's mindset needs to change. It needs to be positive thinking all the time. That yes, I can do this. My students can achieve this. My students can learn this. And again, that's extremely important. Okay, so students need to understand, teachers need to understand, madrasas need to understand, we can get smarter. If you don't know something today, doesn't mean that we can't learn it for tomorrow. Okay, we need to have that motto as learning is my goal. So that we're constantly learning all the time, not just learning for the sake of the madrasa, not just learning for the sake of, you know, the teacher. They need to have an ambition that I want to keep on learning. And they also need to understand, teachers also need to understand, the more effort you put in with your students, the more effort the student puts in, the more effort the madrasa supports the students with, that will only make them stronger. That will only make them smarter. Okay, so every child learns at their own pace, and we want them to spend more time and work harder. So the more time they spend learning Quran, the more time they spend learning Hadith, the more Islamic studies, Hadith, Tafsir, Fiqh, just basic Arabic language, even Fusha, even colloquial Arabic and so forth. The more time they spend and practice, the smarter they will get. And that will be, you know, our kind of end goal is higher achievement. So the more they sit down and the more they learn, the more the higher they will achieve, inshallah. The second phase is the triangulation model, MHP, which is the motivation mindset, the halo horn effect, and proprioception. The reason this is important is before, for example, any of the madrasas or schools that I set up, I change the mindsets. It takes me about maybe 2 months, 3 months to get everyone on board for them to understand that without having the right mindset. So if you've got a negative mindset, which will mean that your students will come late because they're not motivated to come on time. Okay, they will want to go home early. They'll be agitated. Similarly, teachers will come in late. They produce lackluster work. They produce mediocre work. They won't provide the lesson planning and so forth because the motivation is not there, the mindset's not there. And if you have teachers with negative mindset, my understanding is try to work with them. If not, I would say get rid, because they're going to be bringing down your students. They're going to be bringing down your kind of whole establishment. The second is the halo horn effect. And again, the whole madrasa system learning principles of Quran and Sunnah. Here again is do not assume. If a student has come in today misbehaving, don't come in tomorrow and say, oh, that student Abdullah or Fatima has been misbehaving, or they're going to be misbehaving again tomorrow. No, give them a fresh start. Saying, look, yeah, we understand that happened yesterday, but today's a new day. And you will see that sometimes students come in, because I always believe, and through my experience, that 90% to 95% of students' behavior is usually connected, nothing to do with your classroom and the way you teach, is to do with external situations. Like they might have, been ill the night before. They might have been traveling. They might have, had an argument with a friend. They might have been shouted at home by a parent or something similar to that. They might have been given detention. They might have been hungry. It could be a variety of reasons. And what happens is they're bringing that into your classroom. And what teachers do, they react to the behavior of students. But if the students are calm and you teach them how to kind of overcome those situations, you will see when they come into your classroom, no matter what has happened before the lesson, they will be calm, knowing you're there to support them. You're there to understand them. You understand the students. And that's why, the relationship is very, very important. So don't assume things. And hopefully in the program, I'll talking about what the halo effect means and what the horn effect means. A lot of the times teachers assume something about the students, that Abdullah always misbehaves, so therefore, they just kind of deal with them in that particular situation. And that is really not the way to kind of build relationship with students as well. And proprioception, again, is very, very important. There's a sixth sense we sometimes forget about entirely, one that our bodies and brains use to gain vital information around about the world. So what happens is students come in, if your classroom is too congested, is too clustered, it's too cold or too hot, the resources are not there, the materials are not there, the teacher's not qualified and so forth, that will have an effect on the way students learn. I'll give you an example of that. When you're sleeping at nighttime, okay, you're so used to your surrounding, even though it's pitch dark. So if you need to go to, for example, to the toilet or something similar to that, you can switch on your lamp. Or if there's people sleeping, then most likely you won't switch on the lamp because you will disturb them. But you will know, subconsciously where the door is. Okay, when you go into the toilet and so forth, sometimes you don't even switch on the light. Why? Because you know where things are. Because in your mind you have that proprioception awareness that this is the bed, this is where the door is, this is where the light is going to take is another meter to the bathroom, and so forth. You're not going to wake up and make so much noise, because that's going to disturb everyone else. So if you don't have that proprioception, so students, when they are sitting in a particular area of the classroom, and the classroom is not environmental friendly, then it has a massive impact. And I'll be talking more about proprioception and your classroom design and how your classroom should be in order for students to maximize the kind of learning, because it does have a massive effect. So we look at the effects, the mindsets, and then we're looking at the proprioception environment. And what that does is creates awareness in your students. So you need to be aware of everything around you, your surroundings, your environment, your classroom. Has it got, the literacy wall, the Islamic studies wall where they can post things on, question stems and all that kind of stuff as well. Are they bringing in the correct equipment? Why are they not learning? Is there something that is stopping them or hindering them to learn? And don't assume that students are not going to learn, because things change. And again, by changing their mindset, motivation, students will learn. Okay, now I'm going to come to mindfulness in Islam, and what is the purpose of having a madrasa? What is your purpose in life? What is your purpose of your family and your surroundings? And again, the 6 major components. So what I would like each one of you to do is, I want you to write down one element you think it's important, okay, in achieving that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is it that, there's 6 major components. I just want you to write down one component that you think will connect you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So please write that down. Just one element. I just want you to write down one element. Jazakallah Sajid for joining us. I think we have Rashida joining us and Zainab joining us as well. Thank you very much. And again, you will get this recording of this webinar also. So those of you who joined us, what I would like you to do is write down one element of what you think are from the 6 major components, what you think is mindfulness in Islam, and to attain that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is it that you are trying to achieve as a teacher? What is it that your madrasa is trying to achieve, and what they're supposed to be achieving in your vision and mission? And what is it that your students should be attaining to? And what is the purpose of a madrasa? Okay, and I'm going to be going through those 6 steps with you inshallah today, but I just want you to kind of write down. If you don't know, just say don't know. Okay, I'm not going to hold you to it. So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to write down what you think are the 6 major components. I just want you to write down one. Okay, so you're saying don't know. What should deliver authentic knowledge to the next generation of Muslims with the pure intention of it to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of preserving the knowledge of the generations to come. Okay. Another 30 seconds, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to give you the answers. The reason I'm going to give you the answers is I want you to really focus on why you're coming onto this course and what is it that you are trying to achieve, not only from this course, but in your life. Okay, once we have our priorities right, our priorities are correct, then that will allow us to go step by step in each of the components, okay, to attain that level. Because I've heard it all before, like, oh, we need, millions of pounds to open a madrasah. We need, amazing teachers to open madrasahs. We need this, we need that. No, you don't need any of that. Okay, you need to have complete faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because everything happens, with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm going to go through that with you. Okay, so the first element is tadabbur, seeking the wisdom in knowledge. I'm going to kind of, on this point, I'm going to go through this and then have a break for about a few minutes for those of you who want to pray. So I'm going to go through this first. It should be taking me about 10 minutes, hopefully, inshallah. So the first one is tadabbur, seeking the wisdom in knowledge. To seek the essence of truth through knowledge in every act and being, i.e. keeping what is beneficial knowledge and letting go of that which is meaningless, trivial, or harmful to your inner or outer being. How do you practice tadabbur? To gain a regular diet of ilm, knowledge. And this is why you're on this course. Professional development, continuous professional development. Okay? Every day, and then to shake off the deleterious items and keep what is healthy and beneficial to the spirit. So really focus on what's important. And this course is going to allow you to keep you focused. Okay? Keep your personal goals focused. Keep your students focused. Keep your madrasah focused if you're a principal or something similar to that. Number 2, tafakkur, reflecting on what one knows and observes. So what happens is reflecting on what one knows and observes. Reflect upon what you have learned. Observe, study, and release your inner spirituality to bring you into the field of wisdom. So what happens is Allah gives you that wisdom, and then you can differentiate between what is beneficial and non-beneficial. And you can help others because you can see that Allah gives you that power. Okay? How do you practice tafakkur? This consists of meditation and dhikr. Extremely important to do dhikr. Just astaghfirullah 100 times a day. If you can do 1,000, that's even better. Reading Quran every single day, and so forth. Extremely important. And I'm going to be showing you certain techniques that you can do, which will calm you down in terms of when you're stressed and things are getting on top of you, when you're feeling overwhelmed, and so forth. And I'll be showing you some techniques you can do every single day, which really, really calms you down. Okay? It focuses planes of thought that takes you into the subconscious and allows your spirit to be replenished by releasing what is toxic while tapping into your inner purity. So, I'm going to show you how to get rid of all the noise which is around you. People are telling you, no, you can't do this. People saying, your teaching is rubbish. Your students are misbehaving. Your students are misbehaving. How can you overcome this? Okay, and I'm going to be showing you that tafakkur, that kind of reflecting on how to overcome all these obstacles. Number 3, tasabbur, consistent patience with gratitude. We should be so grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's given us everything. Okay, so it's again extremely important to understand that. So be patient with the world around you and with yourself. Do not seek immediate gratification. If your students are learning today and mashallah they achieve the results, fine. It's not about the short term, it's about the long term goals. Where do you want, I talked about outcomes, where do you want your students to be? Okay, for it will not help you attain inner peace in the long haul. This is linked to the next two practices and requires constant reminders that the divine is in charge and events happen according to His, the Almighty. Okay, timetable of planning which is hidden from us and not according to ours. So everything happens because Allah wants it to happen. If Allah wants, all your students become saints overnight. Okay, that's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If not, it could take years and years and years and years. And as we know, look at the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of them, gave da'wah for hundreds of years. So that's something that we need to have, that tasabbur and that consistent patience with gratitude. Number 4, tazkiyah, purification of the heart. There are 5 gateways to our spiritual heart, the 5 senses. Do not allow corrupting influences to enter your heart via these gateways. Guard them vigilantly and sift the entrance for clarity, beauty and sincerity. If the entrance do not qualify, let them go. So how you practice is tazkiyah. Here the practice points to ways of cleansing the heart. Cleanse the outer and the inner through fasting from dawn to dusk. We've just had Ramadan, mashallah. The tazkiyah should be there. What was the purpose of that fasting? Retreat even for a few minutes from the hassles of daily life. Eat pure tayyib and what is not harmful, halal, and exercise to improve your stamina to practice all of the above, all of the above tazkiyahs. So again, regular exercise is important. I see many teachers don't exercise. So if your body is not healthy, your mind won't be healthy. That's extremely important as well. At the end of each day, or during the day, or during the morning, spend like 10-15 minutes quietly in a corner somewhere with no noise and just think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just think of the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just sit there and read the Quran if you want, and ponder over the words of the Quran. Okay? Because the more purification that you have in your heart, that will reflect on your student. And I can almost guarantee you that your students will be on a different level. They will also start connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will be extremely important as well. Observe nature with gratitude and humility and acknowledge the one who created it. Avoid israf or wastefulness. Live frugally, using only what is essential and letting go of things that burden you psychologically, physically, or eating up your time or money. Just think about that for a second. It's quite important. Tazkiyah is the loofah that scrubs the heart till it glows like a polished crystal, reflecting the light of the divine and becoming transparent enough to allow the light to pass through to others. We need to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So teaching is not just about, my sheikh said to me, for example, when you're teaching things, Muhammad, don't think about you're teaching this and it's because your amazing ability to teach students. No, you're just a tool and the vessel. If Allah wants, you don't have to say anything in the lesson, your students will still learn. And I can show you ways you don't have to say anything in the lesson and your students are still learning. Okay? You don't have to have any resources and your students are still learning. But all these happen if you do have the resources and the environment that just enhances. But again, at the end of the day, it's the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Then number 5, you have tashakkur, gratitude. In every breath will lighten your step, your life, and your environment. How do you practice this? Use a litany of words of gratitude daily as part of your normal vocabulary. Use words of gratitude after mundane acts of living, like eating, and after witnessing the beauty of a sunset and more. Inculcate it in your daily life. Just be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You wake up in the morning, alhamdulillah. You've eaten, alhamdulillah. Go to sleep, alhamdulillah. You do wudu, alhamdulillah. Drank water, alhamdulillah. You've eaten, alhamdulillah. You've seen something amazing, alhamdulillah. You've seen your kids today after they come back from school or something, alhamdulillah. Okay, if you're married, you're with your partner, alhamdulillah. You see your parents, alhamdulillah. So have that gratitude always, and Allah will give you, bounties and bounties and bounties. And the final one, number 6, is taqwa, mindful of the divine. Be aware of the divine presence in your life and at all times as a source of love, kindness, and a guide to mindfulness. In order to practice this, remember to be aware where the divine wants you to be present, and be absent from where he does not want you to be. He is our creator, and he, the Almighty Allah, knows best. And that is the ultimate reflection. And this is where our purpose needs to be. This is where our madrasas need to be. Getting our students to achieve that taqwa. And having all these different steps. Okay? And if we get students to get to that level, that is the ultimate. It's not a matter of how many surahs you learn. It's not how many hadiths you learn memorized by heart. It's not a matter of reciting 50, 60 khatams. Yes, fine. Yes, that's not saying don't do that. Yes, you do. But it's about attaining that taqwa, that consciousness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that link with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where our purpose should be. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a bit of a 5-minute break, inshallah. What I want you to do is reflect on everything I said, and I want you to just ask me any more questions. I want you to write as many questions as you can down, and I will try and answer them as we go along. Jazakallah, Dr. Alam. Thank you very much. Yeah. Again, please write as many questions as you can and everything we've learned so far, because the next step is going to be slightly more difficult. Okay, so we're now upskilling ourselves to the next level and where we need to be. Those who need to pray can go and pray. The rest of us can have a chat on here if you want. Just again, ask me any questions you've got on what we've done so far. And then hopefully at 15:15, we will resume, inshallah.